how you guys are cultivating leadership and investment. Something in doing recently, rereading the stat that always infuriates me, but in 2016, women received 2% of all investor capital. So, you know, the fact that you're all out there doing this work, I know, Michelle, female-led is a really important part of the branding of your company. I'm curious to hear how you guys feel like internally when you're running your organizations. How do you think about doing things different so that we can continue to cultivate more diverse voices? Because, I mean, personally, for me, I just think the heart of innovation is always about bringing disparate ideas together. That's when you get great new ideas. I'm listening to so many of your stories, and I think, just like we know in agriculture, if you just grow one thing, it's not good for us. And I think, I think it's important when you're growing a company. And if any of you have anything you really want to talk about, just like, give it to me.
Sure. I do, because it can be very challenging as a woman and a woman of color, might I add that as well, just to be frank. But I think what was unique about my journey is I had an opportunity to utilize media in a positive way. Because at times, the media in Detroit, they used to cast a shadow over us. And all the ingenuity and inventiveness that was going on kind of, I don't think we were, portrayed fairly. But lately, everybody's been hearing about the economics and how great Detroit is, and it is. And we still have to think about our neighborhoods as well. But I had an opportunity to do an ad, a Ford ad, about 4 years ago. And that basically catapulted me out into the world where people saw that commercial and they're like, oh, she's a real person. She's actually doing this work, and that was, for me, that gave me that platform, a positive platform that was a great reflection on the community at home, but also globally, because we ended up being in Time magazine's like top 10 ads for that year. And I think what's important is when you're a woman and you're leading, at least from my perspective, is you have to take a unique approach to different opportunities. Getting your hands dirty in agriculture is not a sexy thing for most people. But when you can kind of put a face to something, and I think you said earlier about the problem in the investment, for investors, finding that niche or having that problem to present to them so they can know the value. Because now that we have the data and we can associate climate with this and how much food is being wasted and what those dollars add up to, we know that we can take a percentage of that and invest it back into the infrastructure. And so I started taking opportunities to be in Vanity Fair talking about dirt, you know what I mean? Or in a commercial or in a Shinola or a watch commercial and telling the story, because at first I shied away from it, like, that's not me, that's not what I do. I'm a hard worker, I'm all about the movement, But then I started utilizing that leverage, that platform, and leveraging my relationships to tell a unique story. But also the automotive community, we focused in on cars. So I think leadership is being able to recognize not only that you have the ability to lead and get out here and bring and network and leverage each other and build relationships, but you also have to recognize that you have to do something that's different, that's going to impact. Education is key, and highlighting what others are doing. There's enough work and enough opportunity for everybody, and so the thing that I love about panels is listening and hearing what other people are doing, so I can tell my community about it, so I can say, this is another company who is doing well in San Francisco. Why aren't we doing this here? Look at the Bay Area, they're composting. Shouldn't we be doing this here in Detroit? So I think leadership is being able to take a step back, eat a piece of humble pie sometimes, learn from others, but also be able to bring people together for the greater cause and the greater good of what we're all doing. Yeah.
I think you hit something really important in your experience, Pashon, about working with the media and things like that in risk-taking. I think as developing myself as a female leader, taking calculated risks has been huge, because I could have gone into a job that had a set definition, a set pay salary, and kind of a set step up to promotions, et cetera, et cetera. But I said, I kind of looked at the worst case scenario that could happen if I started a company and the best case scenario, and I decided that I didn't have a lot to lose, and the journey would take me so much farther no matter where I landed and what I could land. So I think my message to women, and especially young women, is don't be afraid to take risks. And even if it's calculated, even if it's a small risk, like talking to Vanity Fair, that's huge. And I think sometimes as females, like we do shy away from that. So, and I think what I would add to all this, it's important not just to elevate females, but diversity all across the board in terms of orientation, where you live in the country. So just not just females, but just across the board, everything. We need diversity to come through with these breakthrough solutions to the problems that we're seeing in the food system. We're not going to find solutions if we don't have enriched solutions from people with diverse backgrounds.
And I'll add to you is that the diversity starts with each person, and it's driven by purpose. It's driven by mission. It's driven by mission not just by who you are, but it's driven by mission of your company. And when we talk about the diversity, it's very important to know that we have two other elements, such as inclusiveness and equity. So if you have a diverse company and spend millions and millions of dollars and you think about, oh, this is cool, my company looks diverse. But if you bring those marginalized identities to the team, and if those people are not happy with the process or they weren't treated equally, then you're doing something wrong. You're not including those people. So you're not changing the system of your environment. And in terms of equity, what you do is that you have to bring those people and give them same opportunities, no matter where they started, in Detroit, no matter where, in Ghana, in Moscow, and give them those opportunities to grow together with the team or on their own. So what I see is that being a regenerative food system company, we actually have a systemic approach to regenerative future. And when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about our organization as a living organism. I'm a mother, and I always think about how I'm going to feed my kids, including my family, the people I work with, people who are surrounding me. You have to think about this as a human lab, where you bring those people, you actually cross-pollinate those beautiful minds, you bring those new technologies, you're bringing this diversity of thinking, and this is where it's all lies in, because this is where people are making a lot of changes. And then when we're talking about diversity within the team, we have to talk about the diversity and look what's happening on the board echelons. So predominantly, those are the guys who are actually driving the boat. And the study's been done. We all know that the more diverse, gender diverse board actually has 35% more increase on your equity. 66% you have more return on your investment. Women have 85% more spending power. I will decide not just where my kid's gonna go to school, but where they're gonna go and buy the food from. I'm gonna be buying the food from, and what kind of food they're gonna be eating. So there have been enough research done and saying that actually women can be the third economy. So we are the third billion economy in this world. Mm-hmm. Think about this. So we have to really look into ways how we actually making our own living organism as our company as diverse as possible.
I want to add to it too, just in terms of leadership. I think while I absolutely agree with everything everyone has said, I have found in my own experience that three really big qualities of leadership is just courage, grit, and trust. And sometimes those things you learn more of along the way, and you really cultivate that sense within yourself in terms of having the courage to jump in and have these solutions and dive in before you even think you're ready. Knowing when to trust yourself and trust your team when people are telling you, no, it's never going to work, it's too challenging, go back to the old way of going about doing things. So really having that grit to follow your own fire and sense of purpose has been huge for us as we've been developing this too. So I think with each of these women's solutions and the work that they're doing, and certainly with all of the innovators that we're seeing downstairs, there's a lot of courage, there's a lot of grit that people are really following their passions and making it happen. So I think that's pretty core to leadership also. We need to cultivate that more.
And I can give only one advice to those people who are just started their companies and thinking to change this world. Find that woman or man in this room who are representing the industry and ask them to mentor you. Don't ask for the money. Ask them to give you an advice. A great thing's going to be happening, I reassure you.
Can I add one piece to that? Please. Which is also, I think, and it is maybe a more feminine leadership quality and attribute is for early stage entrepreneurs in particular, don't be shy with your idea. I think collaboration is key, and open sourcing your ideas. I think people tend to get very protective, and I think it's really important to put your ideas out there and get feedback. You know, your ideas are important and revolutionary, but really it's the execution that matters in terms of how you actually build your business into reality. And I think that just to also underscore collaboration, I think it's a really key component of, I mean, we're talking about some of the biggest problems and challenges that, you know, we could possibly face in terms of how we grow, produce, and distribute food. And I think it is absolutely vital that people see beyond their own particular background or expertise and really ask questions and really dig in and help support each other. So add that piece.
Incredible. I feel like it really resonates to me, you know, that we're really part of a movement. And I mean, you guys talked about like the challenges in our food system that are broken and will not get fixed if we stay siloed.